put some thought into what Verrigan is going to be going into the future, and what kind of new stories I want to tell. I looked back at my previous quests, and they're all grand adventures, and they're all quite cherry-picked. And I thought that the thing I enjoy most about World of Warcraft is actually playing through it. So I'm going to try and do that, and I hope you enjoy. I also want to make this video very welcoming to new players. I've noticed that through the comments, quite a lot of people that watch me have never played WoW. They just have a kind of soft interest in its world and in MMO stories in general. And honestly, that's how I started. So I'm going to fully accommodate that, and I'm going to try to explain everything about the game that I feel is necessary. I probably don't need to explain, though, that this is the login screen. It's famous. So this is what the character creation screen looks like. On the left you've got the different races, there's 8 of them in the base version of the game. 4 on each side, the Alliance and Horde are the 2 factions. It's why there's the World of Warcraft, constant war, yeah, violence, not very nice really. Anyway, and the classes are at the bottom. You can see for each different race there are different classes. I think the humans can be all of them, the trolls I think can be all of them. Aside from that, the different classes have different combinations that you can go for. Oh, and I forgot as well, there are Paladins and Shamans. Paladins are unique to the Alliance, humans and dwarves can play them, and Shamans are unique to the Horde, and Orcs and Tauren can play them. I don't think Trolls can, though I might be wrong, I'm not a Horde player. And then below that you can change all the different things about your character, you know, hairstyle, everything like that. On the right side of the screen is really interesting if you want to get to grips with the lay of the land, I guess. So at the top you've got your description of your faction, either Alliance or Horde, and the flavor text is really nice. Below that is the race pane, which I think is probably the most interesting. You basically get what you could call a lore dump of everything about that race, like a brief description. And underneath in yellow are some of the racial abilities or things unique to that race. And below that, in the third pane in the bottom right, is the class. Now I think the class one is very important because it establishes who you are in the world. Some games are more free-form. You start off as a very basic level 1 character, like in Skyrim for example, and through your own experience you choose what kind of character you want to be. In this game it's very class-based, so you pick your class, and that, to a certain extent at least, defines your character's motivations and their place in the world. Now, as to who I'm going to play as, it's going to be a human paladin, and the reason for that is because I always play a human paladin. Ever since I started playing World of Warcraft, I've always been kind of obsessed with the class fantasy of the paladin. I also, from a gameplay standpoint, really enjoy how the seals system works. I think it's really unique and fun. I have played other classes. I've played a priest quite a bit as well, but in the end I always go back to paladin. I was thinking about maybe doing a warrior or maybe even go horde or something, but I am very much stuck in my ways when it comes to this game. You may have seen that meme template of the person who, despite playing a fantasy RPG with countless race and class combinations, picks the human fighter. I am that archetype of person. You might think I'm boring, and yeah, I guess I am a little bit boring. Typically, I've always preferred lower fantasy settings than Azeroth, and I think I fundamentally like to experience fantasy through my own eyes in a way. You know, I am a human, and so I like to play human in a game because it's me experiencing the world. There is a connection between me, the person, and the character in game. And it's not like I don't play other races in RPGs, but that connection feels the strongest when I play an incredibly normal looking person. Okay, enough preamble. Let's enter the world.
The noble humans of Stormwind are a proud, tenacious race. Though the recent invasion of the demonic Burning Legion decimated their sister kingdom of Lordaeron, the defenders of Stormwind stand vigilant against any who would threaten the sanctity of their lands. Nestled in the foothills of Elwyn Forest, Stormwind City is one of the last bastions of human power in the world. Ruled by the Child King Anduin Wrynn, the people of Stormwind remain steadfast in their commitment to the Grand Alliance. Backed by their stalwart allies, the armies of Stormwind have been called away to fight the savage horde on distant battlefields. With the armies gone, the defense of Stormwind now falls to its proud citizens. You must defend the kingdom against the foul mongrels that encroach upon it, and hunt down the subversive traitors who seek to destroy it from within. Now is the time for heroes. Now humanity's greatest chapter can be told.
So here we are in game. Now, I was going to read out the paragraphs on the right side of the character creation screen earlier, but I feel like the intro cutscenes, like the one we just saw, are really good for setting the scene, so I kind of feel like I don't need to. Now, I do, however, feel like I need to explain what a paladin is. The term has seen limited use in all kinds of European languages for centuries. Traditionally, it's best to think of a paladin as a holy knight. Think of them as the Knights of the Round Table, but from the French literature and not the English. They are the romanticized medieval warrior. They'd slay beasts, defeat evil armies, and serve their king. Paladins are also known for their legendary weapons. The most legendary paladin, Roland, wielded Durandal. This legendary sword was said to cut through any rock. In a town in France, we can see its supposed resting place, halfway up this huge steep cliff. It's really cool to see sites like this where myth tries to meet reality. Well, until it got stolen a few months ago. The paladins of the RPGs that we recognise today all come from Dungeons and Dragons. These paladins are less so knights of the king, but more so knights of the church, and they're not only just pious and virtuous, but also so devout in their faith that they're able to summon holy magic from their very hands, and specialise in supporting other classes, and in leading the way. It seems fitting then, for this class especially, that we're starting the game next to an abbey. Northshire Abbey. We're a fresh-faced adventurer, and we don't have anything to do, so we might as well talk to the first person we see. Deputy Willem, right in front of us.
Hey there. What can I do for you?
With the many conflicts abroad, Stormwind's guards are too short-staffed, and they're struggling to keep the peace. They're looking for volunteers to help, and we're one of them. He tells us to talk to Marshal McBride, his superior just behind him in the abbey.
Greetings. Be careful.
The Marshal is happy to see us and tells us that we're one of many that have came into the abbey in recent days, and that we should be prepared for a long campaign. He gives us our first ever task.
For the Alliance.
A clan of kobolds have infested the woods to the north. Clearing out an infestation like this can take time, but we can start by thinning out their numbers. On our way back out of the abbey, Deputy Willem has something for us too.
Hello.
He wants us to see Egan Peltskinner, the abbey's resident hunter. Willem tells us that there's been a problem with the local wolf population and that we and Egan can fix it. Though when we get to Egan, he's more interested in food and will trade us some equipment if we get him 8 wolf steaks. Sounds like a deal. So, for a paladin at level 1, combat is very, very simple. I right click on something and I start attacking it. The speed at which I attack is defined primarily by the weapon. You can see it on the stats. And I have access to 2 different abilities. The first one is my heal, and the second one is called Seal of Righteousness. If I cast Seal of Righteousness, it gives me a 30-second buff, which you can see in the top right of the screen. And this lets me do extra holy damage on every swing. You can see the yellow numbers next to the white ones. So the white ones is normal physical damage from my hammer, the yellow is added by Seal of Righteousness. Paladins, at their core, are all about augmenting their auto attacks. which is the name given to their normal weapon swings. Though as we gain more and more experience, our spellbook will gain many more pages. After killing one mob, one wolf, we're immediately level 2, and I think, hold on a second, that's not right. I look at the buffs and I realise that we have the Discoverer's Delight buff, which I'd completely forgotten about. You see, this is all on Season of Discovery, a seasonal WoW server with some extra changes which I'll go over at a later date. But what's important right now is the big XP buff that we're getting. Now, if you just want to get your character into the action, that's fair enough. This is really useful. Seasonal servers like this are almost ridden like a wave. And if you're leveling a new character and you want to catch up to everyone else, this is a very useful push in the right direction. Thing is though, I'm not interested in riding the wave. I just want to experience the game at my own pace. And so I want to disable this buff. For some reason, I had to travel miles to the nearest city to do that. Why I couldn't do that from, I don't know, Deputy Willem? No clue. It kind of annoyed me, but anyway. After a non-disclosed amount of time, I'm finally back and killing wolves again. Combat, especially this early in the game, and especially as a paladin, can be quite slow, but you know what? I really like that. Some games are, fast-paced, clicky-clicky button games. I know modern WoW is a lot like that. But personally, I've found that if I'm paying less attention to what I'm doing in the game, I can just relax a bit more, and this pairs really well with a nice green forest like this one. I mean, there's no point creating this beautiful world if your players are too busy trying to kill things to ever look at it. Another thing to notice is just how easy this is. Without taking any breaks or paying particular attention to the game, you can notice that my health bar is almost full. Is that what, like a 10% loss of health this entire time? They do make the start of this game really easy. And of course it's the start of the game, so it kind of should be easy. But I feel like some new players may encounter a bit of a shock when they leave Northshire for the first time, get really cocky and get themselves killed really early on. So after we've killed all of those wolves and gotten loads of their meat, we can turn our attention to the kobolds. Specifically, we're looking for kobold vermin. In this game, and in games like it, usually enemies are separated into different types. They may look almost the same, they may act almost the same, but if they have a slightly different name, they are different enemies. So I guess you have to sometimes watch what you're trying to attack. It also gives you a good idea as to their danger. The fact that this mob has the suffix vermin indicates that a rat catcher could probably deal with them, and we need to clear them out without really thinking too much about it. So unlike the wolves, kobolds are sentient, I guess? I mean, they speak, they talk in, I think, common, and you can see them shout as you're fighting them. Kobolds are famously cowardly creatures, and so it kind of feels bad killing them. Another side effect of this being the starter zone for the humans is that no enemies here are actually actively aggressive towards the player. They'll only attack back when attacked. And you can see this because their names are yellow instead of red. This makes complete sense for a starter area, but it does feel weird when I walk up to this entire camp of kobolds and they all just stare as I take them out one by one. Okay, so after bonking loads of wolves and kobolds, it's time to hand in. We make the trade with Egan Peltskinner, and he gives us a choice between two different rewards. Either the soft fur-lined shoes or the wolf-skin braces. This is a very unimportant decision to make, but it's a fun one, nevertheless.
Have a good one.
It's now hand-in time for the Kobold quest too, but it looks like Deputy Willem wants to work with us. He tells us that another threat, a third threat, has appeared across the river. The Defias Brotherhood, a group of thieves. Willem doesn't really know why they're here, but doesn't want them here. And if we can go out there and bring back 12 of their bandanas, he'll give us a new weapon. But first things first, the kobolds. Stepping to the side of this guy who's just sitting down for some reason, we talk to Marshal McBride again and tell him that we've cleared out the vermin.
Life bless you. Be careful.
But during our excursion, McBride's scouts have returned and told him that this isn't just a kobold infestation, this is an occupation, and kobold workers have also infected the place. They've set up camp in the forest, and before they could start work on anything, we should clear them out. They're off in the forest to the north, just like the vermin were, but they're also up close to the mine, Echo Ridge Mine.
Go with honor.
We've also received a letter from Brother Samuel here in the Abbey, but we have more pressing matters, so we'll get to that later. Oh, and also, we've been picking up a load of loot. Most things you kill drop something. I think everything drops currency, but there's a chance that you get something else too. For most adventurers, these grey items, junk items, that drop from loads of mobs would be completely useless. The only real purpose of them is to be sold. But since we're just wearing clothes, these are great upgrades. And just like that, we're one step forward in becoming a proper adventurer. And whilst we're taking a look at our bags, this is a great time to sort out our inventory. You see, we only have a limited amount of space, and most of the stuff we pick up is junk that we need to sell. So let's go to the nearest vendors. Outside the Abbey's entrance, across the road, are a couple of wagons. The people next to them sell some very basic supplies, but most importantly for us, buy things. In fact, all vendors in this game will actively buy things. Usually you have to go through your bags and right-click to sell each of the items you don't want. I have an add-on that automatically sells all of the junk items in your inventory. I'm sure I'll find plenty of time to ramble on about add-ons later, though. Of particular interest to Paladins is Godric Hrothgar, which is a really cool name. He's an armourer and shield crafter, and he sells a set of armour and a couple of shields. Until quite late into World of Warcraft's development, shields were actually divided into two separate categories, shields and bucklers. Now, this is no longer a thing, there are just shields, but you can still see the imprint of that old design decision here, where there's a small shield and a normal shield for sale. The tarnished chain set looks really cool. And it's a bit expensive for us, but to be honest, we don't really need it. Just killing kobolds and wolves is enough to get us random bits of armour anyway, which is almost as serviceable. And regardless, Northshire is just an easy zone, you don't need this armour, and that makes me kind of sad because this entire armour set was designed to be in the game, just to never be used. This is actually a thing throughout the entire game. There are only rare instances where you would buy a weapon or piece of armour from a vendor. It's just not worth it most of the time. The game's cities are full of shops for all different kinds of weapons, armour, supplies, etc. and you'll just never enter any of them, which I think is a bit of a misstep. So now it's time to slay some kobold workers. And for the first time, I need to heal, using my Holy Light spell. The training wheels are slowly but surely coming off. Our kobold hunting has taken us right to the entrance of Echo Ridge Mine, and we can see that inside are plenty more. We should tell Marshal McBride.
King's honor, friend. Go with honor, friend.
When we give Marshal McBride the news, he sends us on our third and final quest in the Kobold campaign, Skirmish at Echo Ridge. Now that the true extent of the Kobold infestation has been discovered, we need to go in and purge the place. It's our job, alongside other adventurers, to clear out Echo Ridge Mine. At the end of Echo Ridge Mine is a chest. These treasure chests are randomly spawning, and rarely contain anything good at all, but you can never leave a stone unturned. Inside this part of the mine alongside us is another player, and the customary thing to do is to roll the dice for the chest. This is done by typing out the /roll command in the chat box in the bottom left. By default, /roll rolls a random number between 1 and 100, though you can also select a custom number. You can do 1 to 1,000,000, 1 to 10, whatever you like. Unlike us, this player doesn't seem interested in the chest, so it's time to open it up. And inside is 10 copper coins, a shiny red apple, and a frayed belt. In a not entirely related and unnecessary rant about dice rolls, I would prefer it if the rolling system, which is very integral to how parties work in this game by the way, were represented in-game in a more realistic fashion. How do all of these adventuring heroes have access to a random number generator? Surely it would be cooler if they had access to, I don't know, a pair of dice? But anyway, after the kobolds of Echo Ridge Mine have been defeated, it's time to report our victory. Marshal McBride commends us for a job well done and gives us one of 3 armor pieces. He also says that the Stormwind army has more work for us. But I've completely forgotten about that letter. Brother Samuel, in the Abbey, has been given permission to oversee our training as a paladin, and he wants to start right away. We've been in and out of the entrance of the Abbey several times now, but never inside. Inside is this beautiful circular main hall, and in 2 separate rooms off from there is the library wing and the Hall of Arms. Brother Samuel isn't actually very specific on where he is in the Abbey, so it's a good excuse to take a poke around. Sometimes I do like it when we're not given directions. I mean, we know he's in this Abbey, and the Abbey isn't too big, so we have to explore it. In the Hall of Arms, standing across from us at a stone round table, is Brother Samuel. When you hear something like brother in an abbey, you think of some kind of monk wearing a robe, but no, this man's a paladin, just like us. He tells us that though Northshire will be our home for a short while, eventually we will see the gates of Stormwind, the capital city of the Alliance and of the humans, and calls us a Knight of the Silver Hand. When I spoke about paladins earlier, I didn't speak specifically about how paladins work in Azeroth, and so I'll do that now by explaining who the Silver Hand are. According to ancient legend, the god Tyr lost his hand in a battle against a huge evil dragon. His hand was replaced with one of pure silver, and this silver became a representation of sacrifice. Both the sacrifice of Tyr when he lost his hand that day, but also the willingness to sacrifice of those who now follow the Silver Hand. The Order of the Silver Hand, and therefore paladins themselves, only date back to the Second War, or the events that transpire in Warcraft 2. That's only about 2 decades ago. This new military arm of the Church is still making its baby steps onto the theatre of Warcraft. And even in that time, so much has happened. Though we are members of the Knights of the Silver Hand, all of its original paladins are long gone. They've either died to the Scourge, the undead inhabiting Lordaeron to the north, became a corrupted member of the Scarlet Crusade, or have joined the Argent Dawn, a group dedicated to reclaiming the Plaguelands from the undead. The player paladins are of a new breed. We have to discover for ourselves what it means to be our class. Though we will be receiving help along the way, chiefly from trainers like Brother Samuel. Here is the list of all of the new spells that Brother Samuel can teach us. We're actually already level 4, so there's a few new spells to train. I'll get to them later, but for now, Brother Samuel has yet another thing to teach us. He tells us that Relics of the Light can be found all across Azeroth. These Relics of the Light are usually in the form of Librams. Samuel was actually going to show us one, but it's been stolen by the Defias bandits across the river. I think it's finally time we headed over there.
For the Alliance.
Just over this bridge, and in the vineyards, are the red bandanaed bandits we've been looking for. The first one to fall, the one guarding the bridge, drops the Libram we've been looking for. Librams are equipped onto our character in the Relics slot, and this one's description tells us how to unlock its secrets. All we need to do is unleash 10 seals onto our enemies. Now, how does a paladin unleash a seal? With Judgment, one of the new spells we've just learned from Brother Samuel. Judgment is a ranged spell that consumes the seal that we currently have active, and its effects are entirely reliant on what that seal is. For Seal of the Righteousness, for example, it simply does extra holy damage. Though the many other seals in the game, which we'll see later on, give Judgment their own effects, making it a very diverse and important tool. Another new spell that we've learned that will help us defeat these bandits is the Blessing of Might. Blessing of Might increases our attack power. That's it. It essentially makes us stronger and do more damage. It lasts for 5 minutes, and very importantly, it can be cast on other players. It's here that we start to see the support role that a paladin brings to any group. And the third ability, which I'd equipped earlier, is Devotion Aura. Devotion Aura increases the armor of everybody in the group by a certain amount. It has no duration and is incredibly useful. Seals and Judgment, Blessings, and Auras are the 3 pillars of Paladinhood, and if you can get your head around those, you can get your head around Paladins. We're just over halfway through our bandits and bandanas when it's time to read our Librum again. We can now unlock its secret. The Rune of Crusader Strike. Runes are a new feature added in Season of Discovery. We can apply runes to our gear and it will give us new abilities for our spellbook. Crusader Strike is an ability that does holy damage and regenerates some of our mana. This gives us an extra button to press, and it starts to make the flow of combat as a paladin come alive. We also gain a bit of mana each time we use it, making us more sustainable during longer battles. Crusader Strike was initially introduced to World of Warcraft in the game's first expansion, and other runes are similar to this, taking ideas from future versions of WoW and porting them back into the original release of the game. Sometimes these are balance adjustments or small quality of life changes, but they can also be very significant changes to how the class is played, and they can be either unnecessary or revolutionary, depending on your perspective. When we're just about done collecting our bounty of bandanas, we come across one of my personal favourite sights: griffins flying overhead. These griffins are inconsequential to us, they don't change our gameplay in any way, but riding them are other players, all on their own adventures and quests and journeys. And though we're down here and they're up there, I can't help but feel connected to them, like this is one huge world. It's such a subtle yet powerful way of keeping the players of this game networked together. Maybe it won't be too long before we're flying up there alongside them. Okay, back to the task at hand. We've got some bandanas to hand in. Deputy Willem has our first major upgrade. He lets us choose from one of 5 weapons, though 3 of those 5 weapons are unavailable for us to equip. The 2 that Paladins need to concern themselves with are the 2 on the right. There's the Militia Hammer and the Militia Warhammer. One of them is one-handed, the other one is two-handed, and this is perhaps the first gameplay choice we have to make as a Paladin. Do we stick with the huge two-handed hammers, or downsize to a one-handed hammer and then buy a shield from Godric? This is the first divergence, and when we unlock the ability to use talent points, a feature I'm sure we'll get to another day, there will be unique specializations that are designed for these different weapon types. We're going with the two-handed Warhammer, because 1, it does a lot more damage, and 2, because it fits the playstyle that this little paladin will one day grow into. Once we've accepted our new weapon, Willem has a couple of other things for us. Firstly, we're being sent over to Millie Osworth, near the stable at the far side of the Abbey. She should have some work for us. And secondly, there's a bounty out on Garrick Padfoot. A notorious local criminal, Garrick is known for terrorising the local farmers and merchants, and Deputy Willem wants us to bring him his head, which is disgusting. But first, let's go talk to Millie.
Hello.
Before the Defiers came, Millie worked the vineyards out the back across the river. Most of the crop had actually been harvested, but left out in buckets in the field.
See you
Without
later.
these grapes, the monks won't get any of their wine, and Millie probably won't get paid. So let's go save her harvest. This quest makes us backtrack across the bridge again. And that's okay, but it would really be helpful if Deputy Willem told us about Millie needing help before we'd gone over to collect the bandanas earlier. Would have saved us a lot of time. Collecting the needed amount of grapes is very quick, honestly. This quest, alongside most others, are designed to be done in tandem with many other players in the same area, but there's only a couple of people around. It's a slow summer day. But this brings back memories of what it's like when there are more people here. More specifically on launch days. As I've said earlier, this is on Season of Discovery, and I was here, on a Paladin, on launch day, and it took me 2 hours to get through Northshire. It was crazy. I'll put some screenshots up. Collecting all these grapes took a very long time. We're now level 5, and we can see as we're coming into our class, so are other people coming into their classes. This warrior here, despite being an armoured melee class like us, already approaches combat completely differently to us. They can charge across the battlefield and quickly get into combat first. It's really cool to watch. And you'll find this with pretty much all classes. All classes can do cool things that you can't, and your class can do something cool that no one else can. After giving Millie back her harvest, she gives us a grape manifest and tells us to hand it in to Brother Niels up in the bell tower. If we read this manifest ourselves, we find out it's more than just a manifest. It's a report, which mentions us in good praise. When we enter the Abbey, we see that the Marshal wants a word with us too.
What can I do for you?
McBride tells us we've proven ourselves as defenders of the Kingdom of Stormwind, and is giving us another task. We're to report to Goldshire instead. Marshal Dugan needs help. It's finally time we left home. But there's one more thing to do first. Let's talk to Brother Niels up in the bell tower. For some reason, I find the walk up the steps to the top of the Abbey to be very memorable. I think it's because it's the first time, in a significant way, that verticality is introduced to the player in the game, and the first time we're in such an enclosed space.
What can I do for
The
you?
jovial and probably drunk Brother Niels thanks us for our
you
work
around.
in getting Millie's harvest back, and offers us one of 2 rewards: the latched belt or the wine-stained cloak. And without hesitation, I picked the wine-stained cloak.
See you later.
The wine-stained cloak is just a normal white item. It gives a little bit of armor. It's for show, really. But for me, this is the first significant reward in the game. And this, of course, isn't because of any gameplay reasons. It doesn't make any changes to the gameplay, really. Or because of its looks. It's just a default-looking cloak, unfortunately. But because of the story associated to it. It's a wine-stained cloak because it's been stained with Brother Niels' wine because he's a drunk. And every time I look at this item, I'll think of how we got this man his grapes back and how happy he was. In this way, this adventure I've just been on is worn on me like armor, which makes it cherished and memorable. I won't be selling this cloak anytime soon.
Be careful.
If I could somehow influence one single small change to this game though, just one, it would be to put actual wine stains on the cloak. Blizz, please fix. On our way out of the Abbey and out of Northshire in general, there's a man on a dinosaur. I have no idea why he's here, but he has a nice dinosaur, so I told him that. He says thank you, and then I get on my way. But a few steps later, he stops me and gives me a free gold piece. By far the most profitable thing I've done in this entire video is compliment someone. There's a lesson in that, isn't there? Anyway, let's leave the sequestered Northshire Valley behind and go onwards to adventure. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like it. If you like me, please subscribe. And if you have anything to say, please leave a comment. And a special thank you to YouTube members Morian, Nightseeker, Jonathan Bengtson, Skoon, Patrick Benhora, Dark Lord Grimace, Lewis H, Lurend, Sovereign, Cherish, Miffy, Hydroxyl, Danson, Sea Surf, Edward Russellduck, O'Barrel Duardo, AC, Carlo Matic, Storrent, and Dark Owl. You've been extra patient. and I really appreciate it. Oh shit, I forgot to kill Garrick.